All right, let's dive right in. We're going to explore a mind that's basically at war with itself, a life forged in chaos. And we're going to see how that intense personal battle became the blueprint for a system designed to change, well, pretty much everything.
And this quote right here, it's kind of the key to the whole thing. You've got to understand this isn't some neat, tidy story told in a straight line. Why? Because living with ADHD, trauma, and chronic pain, it's just not linear. It's messy. So what we're really looking at is a map of that beautiful chaos, a mind that is always, always surviving.
All right then, with that in mind, let's step inside. And man, the feeling they describe is so real. Imagine this. It's 5 a.m., the birds are chirping, and you feel like you've already run a full-on ultramarathon, all inside your head. Your heart feels like it's going to pound out of your chest, but you look at your watch, and it's just a calm 55 beats per minute. Or how even something super simple, like taking the trash out, suddenly feels like you're trying to solve rocket science. That's the starting point here, a constant internal storm.
So that's the war going on inside, right? But it doesn't stay there. The story immediately zooms out to the external fight. This is the story of that inner spark clashing with a world that, frankly, just wasn't built to handle it. You know that kid, the one who's always too loud, too fast, too wild? That's the story here. Sports were the only thing that could burn off some of that energy the world just couldn't handle. But the whole time, his mind, it just kept screaming, just waiting for someone, anyone, to actually listen instead of just trying to hit the mute button. And this slide just nails the central problem. The system looks at a kid like this, and its first question isn't, wow, how do we unleash this incredible mind? Nope, it's how do we neutralize this? The author saw it with his own stepson. Medication that didn't help him thrive, it just made him quieter. It's about flattening that spark to make things easier for the adults, not better for the kid. Okay, but here's where things take a turn, a big one. Instead of letting the system break him, he decides to just rewrite the entire rulebook. Yeah, this right here, this changes the whole game. He literally threw out the prescription drugs that just made him feel dull, and he started building his own toolkit. So using cannabis wasn't about escaping. It was about being able to function, to feel alive in spite of the pain, not just numb it. And all these other things, the tiny life hacks, pacing projects so he wouldn't just collapse, these aren't cheats. These are survival strategies built from the ground up. And this is the absolute core of it all. The world looks at him and sees failure, right? Inconsistent, unconventional, broken. But he looks at himself and sees adaptation. Survival is intelligence. I mean, think about it. The ability to keep going, to build your own tools when the world is hostile to you. That's not a weakness. That's a superpower. Okay, so you might be thinking, that's a great personal philosophy, but how do you turn it into something real, something tangible? Well, it starts by taking all that internal chaos and building an external system of order around it. See, here's the problem he was trying to solve. Most brains are pretty good at lining tasks up in a queue, right? Do this, then do that. But his brain, it's like it fires every single task at him all at once. Studying, parenting, health, money, just surviving. It's all happening at the same time in the same mental space. And that leads to one of two things, complete paralysis or total burnout. So what's the solution? A word he uses is scaffolding. Now, this isn't about having someone else do the work. It's more like building an external skeleton for your thoughts. It's a framework, a container that can hold that internal storm, give it some structure, and turn all that raw, chaotic energy into something you can actually use. And that idea led him to build the Odin prototype. Think of it as a personal operating system for his own life. He started by defining his core pillars, the big things that mattered, like healing, study, and parenting. Then he built a digital dashboard to manage it all, reminders, storage, tracking. And this wasn't just for him. He took this same idea and built systems for his kids, called Kong and Hecate, each one a support framework tailored just for them. And if you're wondering if this systems thinking actually works, well, look at this. This table shows the resources he pulled together for his CASI project. It's just mind-blowing. Out of a life that felt like total chaos, he built this meticulously planned, fully funded tech lab for neurodivergent learners. We're talking a resource value of nearly £180,000 a year. It's the ultimate proof that if you have the right scaffolding, you can turn chaos into incredible, incredible order. But it doesn't stop there, not even close. This is where the whole thing just goes to another level. He takes these same principles of designing for the human and scales them up from one person's life to an entire town. He calls the core problem the extraction glitch. Think of it like a bug in the system of how our towns are built. It's what happens when developers come into a community, build a bunch of stuff that the actual locals can't even afford, and in the process, they extract all the value. They leave behind pollution, higher prices, and a ton of stress. It's a system that's literally hostile to the people it's supposed to be for. And if that sounds a bit abstract, this number, 28,000, will make it painfully real. That's how many steps he had to walk with blisters on his feet, all because the local bus system failed him. It stole his time, his energy, his physical health. He has a name for that: biological theft. The system is literally stealing life from you. So how do you fight back against that? He proposes a whole new way to measure things: biological return on investment, or biological ROI. The idea is so simple but so powerful. If a system takes more stress from you than it gives back in agency, your power to actually control your own life, then it's a failure. It's a biologically hostile system, period.
And the numbers here are just wow. By just stopping the public's money from being siphoned off by middlemen, his model shows it could save over £117 million in just 5 years. But here's the absolute game changer. That money doesn't vanish into some shareholder's pocket. It gets put right back into a sovereign treasury that's owned and controlled by the community itself.
And really, that's what this is all about. This quote says it all. The goal is to completely flip the script. The people living there are no longer just passive claimants begging for help from a system they can't control. No, they become the architects. They get to design their own future.
Which brings us to the final provocative question that this whole journey is really asking. This whole story, from the internal war of one mind to a plan for an entire town, it all hinges on this one powerful idea. What if so-called neurodivergent brains aren't the thing that's broken? What if the environment is what's broken? What if the world we've built is just too simple, too rigid to handle the beautiful, complex, chaotic reality of what it means to be human?